she came up with a different scam for every single pandemic fund. And she scammed $4 million while working at Facebook because why not? What else were some of the dumbest decisions that we saw people do that we covered in 2024? Let's get right to it in this marathon video. What are some of the dumbest crimes people will commit? Let's find out, starting with number 5, every single program. Paradise Williams led a massive fraud scheme that stole millions from pandemic relief programs. Same as apparently pretty much everyone, right? She orchestrated this scheme to fund a luxurious lifestyle, taking advantage of programs designed to help those in need during the COVID-19 pandemic. From June of 2020 to February of 2022, Williams and her associates submitted over 125 fraudulent applications for various pandemic assistance programs, including the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and CARES Act unemployment benefits. They used falsified documents such as bank statements and tenant ledgers to defraud these programs of more than $3.3 million. Williams personally pocketed over $2 million. She spent this money on luxury cars, lavish vacations, cosmetic surgery, jewelry, and designer goods. It's funny how none of these people ever do anything responsible with the money they steal, right? They're never starting a savings account or paying off credit card debt or starting a college fund. It's always fancy vacations and high-end brands. We're sure there's something profound about that, but we don't know what it is. Anyway, Paradise Williams ended up pleading guilty to charges of wire fraud and money laundering. Her actions carried severe penalties, with wire fraud related to a major disaster punishable by up to 30 years in prison. However, the government recommended a sentence of no more than 9 years. Williams was ultimately only sentenced to 5 years in prison. U.S. Attorney Tessa M. Gorman talked about the gravity of her crimes, talking about how Williams funded her extravagant lifestyle by stealing taxpayer money meant to prevent evictions during the pandemic. It's weird how Gorman's going to talk about how serious these crimes were, and then Williams gets a sentence far less than what was recommended. 5 years is no joke, but it's way better than 9 and light years better than 30. Williams didn't act alone. She enlisted over 50 associates, including 5 main co-defendants, to help submit fraudulent applications. They posed as fake tenants, landlords, and small business owners in need of assistance, using falsified documents to secure the funds. The group laundered the stolen money through cash withdrawals, wire transfers, and expensive purchases. Williams also received over $1.2 million in kickbacks from her associates. Several of Williams' co-defendants, including Darius Jackson and Tia Robinson, have been sentenced. Jackson received 3 years in prison, while Robinson got 18 months, while other co-defendants are awaiting their sentencing at the time of this video. As part of her plea agreement, Williams will pay nearly $3.3 million in restitution to the U.S. Department of the Treasury and the U.S. Small Business Administration. She'll also forfeit over $2 million, which were the proceeds from her scheme. Williams and her crew were dumb for running this, since that kind of money is going to get noticed, and their real names were all over everything. Even just the sheer volume of applications, 125 of them, was going to attract attention. There was no way any of them were going to get away with everything. What a weird time the pandemic was. Number 4, just a matter of time. Florida man Joseph Toro has been sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for defrauding the Federal Employees Health Benefits Program, known as the FEHBP. The government really loves having overly long names and reducing them to initials, doesn't it? It's like they think it sounds cool or something. Anyway, Toro was also ordered to pay over $4.4 million in restitution and will face 3 years of supervised release. Toro owned Reawakenings Wellness Center, a rehab facility in Miramar, Florida, that treated patients, including those covered by FEHBP, until its closure in 2018. After the facility was shut down, Toro continued to submit fraudulent insurance claims for treatment that was never provided. He impersonated former patients and redirected their mail to addresses he controlled to receive the reimbursement checks. Over a year, Toro submitted claims worth $6.7 million and obtained around $4.2 million in proceeds. Additionally, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Toro secured a $150,000 loan from the U.S. Small Business Administration under false pretenses, claiming his facility was still operational even though it wasn't. Toro used the fraudulently acquired money to fund a lavish lifestyle. For example, he bought a waterfront mansion in Jupiter, Florida, a Lamborghini Aventador, a Mercedes G-Wagon, 2 Cadillac Escalades, and a high-end Audemars Piguet watch. Despite his fraud, Toro's extravagant purchases have now been forfeited to the feds. It was really stupid for Toro to scam the government while his business was shut down. Submitting fraudulent insurance claims and impersonating former patients after his facility had already closed was always going to raise red flags, since all it was ever going to take was just one person to check up on him. He essentially left a paper trail that made it easier for authorities to catch him as soon as they started looking. Toro ended up with 4 years in prison, but hey, at least he made it on this video. Number 3, paging doctor scammed. In Chester County, Pennsylvania, 2 women, Danielle King and Michaela Ziegler, got themselves in some big trouble. They were accused of embezzling over $450,000 from their employer, a doctor based in Westchester, along with attempting to sell some land he owned worth over $1 million and tampering with his will. The charges against them include theft, conspiracy, forgery, and identity theft. Back in September of 2021, Dr. Romero Naidu, the victim, noticed unauthorized transactions across multiple bank and credit card accounts. Ziegler and King, who had been employed for about a year, had abruptly quit 1 month before Dr. Naidu noticed the discrepancies. So naturally, they were quickly identified as suspects. During their tenure, they had unrestricted access to Naidu's financial accounts, leading to the theft of substantial sums. Investigators uncovered lavish expenditures by the suspects, including spending on family, significant others, and various personal expenditures such as tanning, healthcare, and vacations in New Jersey. Notably, the funds were also funneled through PayPal accounts in an effort to launder the stolen money. Further investigations revealed an attempt by the women to sell 2 of Dr. Naidu's real estate properties without his consent. Fortunately, the listings were withdrawn after the doctor's family intervened, preventing a potential loss exceeding $1 million. Moreover, a bold move by Ziegler to alter Dr. Naidu's will was also thwarted. She had sent a fraudulent email to Naidu's attorney aiming to secure 85% control of his estate. Dr. Naidu confirmed that Ziegler was never meant to be a beneficiary. At the time of this video, the case is still ongoing. So what was the plan here? Did they really think no one was ever going to notice missing money and property? They did it all electronically too, so there were electronic footprints everywhere. Ziegler literally contacted Dr. Naidu's lawyer and tried to change his will as if the lawyer was just going to say, "Oh, okay, who are you again?" And this is what Dr. Naidu wants. Okay, there was no way this was ever going to work. Number 2, quote unquote friends. Arizona couple Christian Probst and Margot Barr were arrested for their involvement in a high-profile burglary involving firearms and antique art. The Chandler Police Department reported that the couple, originally friends of the burglary victims, had helped them move valuable items into storage units in Arizona from their home in North Carolina. Probst and Barr had rented a storage unit in the same facility just days before the crime. They planned to gain access to the units containing the valuable items. Surveillance footage captured them grinding off the lock of a storage unit and stealing a safe filled with 15 various types of firearms. They also took a large Chinese vase and other antiques, making their entire haul worth around $75,000. Once the theft was reported and the footage was reviewed, authorities kept a close eye on their residence. On one occasion, Probst and another individual were seen loading a large weapon safe into a white Toyota 4Runner, apparently belonging to Probst's dad. Probst and Barr led a lavish lifestyle, funded by their theft. They splurged on luxury items, fine dining, and expensive vacations. The stolen art and firearms fetched around $75,000 on the black market, allowing them to buy designer luxury items such as Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Their home, filled with high-end electronics and designer furniture, reflected their stolen money. They frequently traveled, staying in 5-star hotels and dining at upscale restaurants. The police eventually got a search warrant for the residence. When officers arrived, Probst and Barr freaked out and barricaded themselves inside for 5 hours. A SWAT team used gas, a robot, and a dog to flush them out. The two were eventually found hiding in the attic, but eventually fell through the ceiling and were captured. Okay, once SWAT was there, what was their plan? Because they're not getting away, you know? Both Probst and Barr were charged with multiple felonies, including burglary, theft, and criminal damage. Surprise, surprise, Probst was on probation at the time for a previous charge. Details of the final outcome of this case weren't publicly reported. They had to be aware that there were cameras everywhere, so they had to know they were going to be recorded. Yet they still went through with it? If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay tuned right here to find out just how desperate these guys were trying to scam. Number 1, last-ditch effort. In Lakeport, Florida, Florida man Joshua Kolotka got himself arrested after a bold but baffling attempt to dodge police by disguising himself as a woman. His choice of a white cardigan, a blue pattern midi dress, and a striking blonde wig was an unusual strategy to evade capture following a theft incident. Glades County Sheriff's deputies were investigating a boat theft when they spotted Kolotka leaving a residence decked out in his disguise. The scene was quickly secured, and he was arrested on the spot and held without bail. The cops were initially on the lookout for a suspect after recovering a stolen boat at the nearby Old Calusa Lodge. Their search led them directly to Kolotka, who happened to catch their attention with his disguise, who actually stood out when he was simply trying to blend in. Once he was identified, police discovered his warrants, and boom goes the dynamite. Adding to the charges of theft, Kolotka was wanted on 2 existing warrants for unrelated crimes, which included the theft of a John Deere utility vehicle. The sheriff's office shared images of Kolotka's costume alongside his mugshot without the wig, revealing his usual buzz cut. This peculiar attempt at a disguise drew widespread attention and amusement on social media. Comments ranged from humorous jabs at his appearance, calling out his stylist, to expressions of gratitude towards the deputies for their continuous efforts in maintaining safety. With the way things are today, Kolotka should have just leaned into his disguise as a lifestyle choice. The police don't really need to deal with another offended community. What are some of the dumbest things that people will do? Let's get right to it, starting with number 5, a diverse scam. Barbara Furlow Smiles, a former global diversity executive at Facebook, pleaded guilty to stealing over $4 million from the company. She held the prestigious position of lead strategist, global head of employee resource groups and diversity engagement at Facebook for over 4 years, and she devised a scheme that exploited her position of trust. Furlow Smiles, entrusted with overseeing diversity, equity, and inclusion, known as DEI programs at Facebook, used her authority to orchestrate a plan that involved fake vendors, fictitious charges, and cash kickbacks. Apparently, she had manipulated her access to company credit cards, enabling her to submit bogus purchase requisitions and approve invoices for supposed authorized vendors, taking steps to cover her tracks. First, she linked PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App accounts to her Facebook credit cards, making payments to friends, relatives, and associates for goods and services that were never provided to the company. To camouflage these transactions, Furlow Smiles submitted fake expense reports claiming her associates had rendered services like merchandise or marketing, when in reality, they hadn't. Once these individuals received payments from Facebook, they returned a substantial portion of the money to Furlow Smiles, often in cash or transfers to accounts held in her husband's and others' names. Associates resorted to wrapping up cash in t-shirts or paying each other to further mask the illicit transactions. Probably just to make whatever they were doing look even more illegal. Second, she manipulated Facebook into onboarding vendors owned and operated by her friends and associates who also paid her kickbacks. After the contracts were approved, Furlow Smiles greenlit purchases from these vendors. Following that, she approved fake and inflated invoices, directing the vendors to return a significant portion of the funds to her once Facebook paid up. The scope of Furlough Smiles' recruitment for her illicit activities extended to friends, relatives, former interns, nannies, babysitters, a hairstylist, and even her university tutor. Basically, everyone. She also exploited the system to make payments for her benefit, including hefty sums for specialty portraits and over $18,000 for preschool tuition. Yeah, you heard that right. She spent $18,000 to send a toddler to daycare. Who does that? Oh yeah, people who want to brag about overspending on daycare. In total, Furlough Smiles pilfered an insane $4 million from Facebook through fake charges and fraudulent invoices, all to fund a lavish lifestyle between California and Georgia. And what makes this story particularly dumb is just how unnecessary the nature of Furlough Smiles' actions were. Holding a high-ranking position at Facebook, a company known for its attractive compensation packages and benefits, means she was already doing pretty well for herself. In the end, Barbara Furlough Smiles' scam wasn't just about money. It was about buying more status. It reminds us of a quote from Fight Club that is as relevant today as it was when it came out. We all work jobs we hate to buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like. Number 4. The Squatter. Let's dive into the world of stupid decisions. Starring Keith Best, the guy who turned squatting into a bizarre legal jackpot. Keith was a squatter who walked into an empty house, revamped it, claimed legal ownership, and cashed in on a cool £540,000, which sounds really slick, but it wasn't. Back in 1997, Keith Best, a builder with a knack for spotting opportunities, set his sights on a seemingly vacant house in Newbury Park, London. Like any DIY enthusiast with a master key, he made the place as his own and gave it a makeover. The house, once owned by Doris Curtis, had been left lonely since her son Colin bailed out in 1996. Colin, not caring much for the property, had inherited another place and left Newbury Park. And we've all been there, right? Too many houses to choose from. Sometimes you just gotta abandon one. Am I right, fellow multi-homeowners? Anyway, 8 years later, and Keith Best wasn't just living the dream, he was cashing in on it. He sold the house for a hefty £540,000, but he said he was £255,000 in the red, all thanks to a whopping £400,000 spent on legal fees. Apparently, he had to battle it out in court to make the house legally his. Best argued that he had every right to snatch up the place because Colin Curtis had basically ghosted on the property. He even says he shelled out £245,000 to Colin's granddaughter as compensation and tossed another £150,000 into renovations. Best also said he used his savings and income from a cushy job as a senior manager at Virgin, raking in £75,000 per year. He even threw in a 2-year legal tussle with his family over his mother's estate for good measure. The legal drama began in 2012 when Best tried to claim possession of the Newbury Park house. Initially shot down because squatting had become a criminal offense, Best somehow, miraculously, got the green light in a 2014 high court ruling where the judge basically said the old rules still applied. Colin Curtis, the son of the original owner, was not happy. He compared the situation to someone claiming your car because they decided to sit in it. Colin, living on £261 a week from his pension, passed away in 2018. In the end, Keith Best's squatting saga seems like it was just a bunch of dumb decisions. Whether he was genuinely in the financial dumps or playing a tune on the world's smallest violin, one thing's clear. Basically stealing a house, splurging on renovations, and dishing out big bucks for a legal showdown seems like a textbook case of, stupidity. Number 3. Non-imaginary road signs. In Oregon, some car thief got more than they bargained for when they ignored a road sign, only to find themselves careening into a hole caused by a landslide. Because road signs aren't suggestions. Well, stop signs are, but only when we're in a hurry. The Tillamook County Sheriff's Office received a call about an upside-down, slightly charred car on fire just early on a Sunday morning. The driver had vanished before the authorities could arrive. Apparently, the road had been closed for some time, but the driver removed the barrier and road closed signs and drove directly into the hole. A photo from the scene tells the tale of the upside-down vehicle in all its glory, precariously perched in the aftermath of the ill-fated decision. The road closure wasn't a random inconvenience. A recent landslide had left a portion of the road disintegrated. It had already been an ongoing problem with people removing the barriers and driving on the closed portion of the road anyway, which clearly isn't a good idea. To add a final twist to the story, the car's owner dialed 911 about about an hour after the crash to report that their vehicle had been stolen earlier that morning. It seems this daring car thief chose the wrong road for their escapade. Any other route and they probably would have gotten away. And here's another driving tip. Red means stop, green means go, and yellow means go faster. Number 2, not family money. Former Jacksonville Jaguars employee Amit Patel found himself at the center of a shocking scandal, accused of embezzling more than $22 million from the NFL franchise between 2019 and 2023. Patel had allegedly exploited the team's virtual credit card program, diverting funds for his personal benefit, including purchasing a condominium, luxury vehicles, and even a high-end designer watch valued at $95,000. The revelation came to light through court documents filed in U.S. District Court in Jacksonville, Florida. While the Jaguars were discreetly referred to as Business A in the federal filing, the team later confirmed that it was indeed the victim of Patel's alleged financial crimes. In a statement, the Jaguars said that Patel, who had been part of the organization for 5 years, was terminated from his position in February of 2023. According to the team's statement, Patel, formerly the manager of financial planning and analysis, took advantage of his trusted position to engage in covert and intentional fraudulent financial activities solely for personal gain. The Jaguars said that Patel had no access to confidential football strategy, personnel, or other football-related information, like their national secrets or something. The team also clarified that it had enlisted experienced law and accounting firms to conduct an independent review, which concluded that no other team employees were involved or aware of Patel's criminal activities. The court documents detailed Patel's elaborate scheme, highlighting his role as the administrator of the team's virtual credit card program. Patel's authority allowed him to request virtual credit cards for business-related purchases or expenses on behalf of certain authorized employees. Starting in September 2019, he allegedly began making fake transactions, concealing them by duplicating real recurring transactions and inflating the amounts of genuine charges. He also inserted entirely fictitious transactions to further hide his activities. The court filing revealed that Patel used the proceeds from his embezzlement scheme for a wide array of personal expenses. These included placing bets on online gambling sites, buying a condo in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, funding vacations, purchasing a Tesla Model 3 sedan and Nissan pickup truck, retaining a criminal defense law firm, and investing in crypto. Additionally, Patel reportedly spent stolen funds on luxury items such as electronics, sports memorabilia, a country club membership, spa treatments, concert and sporting event tickets, home furnishings, and an extravagant luxury wristwatch. The dude had some plans apparently. In a not so surprising turn of events, Patel pleaded guilty to federal charges of wire fraud and engaging in illegal monetary actions during his court appearance. He openly admitted to committing the crimes he was accused of and acknowledged the misappropriation of funds, personal gain. Patel's lawyer revealed that a significant portion of the embezzled money was lost through online sports gambling on platforms like FanDuel and DraftKings. The attorney cited Patel's huge gambling problem as a driving force behind his deceptive actions and said that Patel used team money for his gambling activities. Then he cleverly hid the condo and the cars behind his back so the judge couldn't see them. During the sentencing, Patel admitted to having a gambling disorder and undergoing treatment, including therapy. The guilty plea means that Patel will have to forfeit properties to the government amounting to the $22 million he confessed to stealing. This includes the Ponte Vedra condo, a Tesla, and a Nautilus watch. And again, why, Patel? You were always going to get caught since you were the only guy with the authority to mess with the virtual credit cards. Your fingerprints were all over everything. And now you lost your cushy job working in a sports franchise. Dumb, dumb, dumb. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here to find out how this guy just simply blew through his investors' money. Number 1. Blowing money fast. Famous reality TV star Katie Price got herself into a financial mess, ultimately leaving herself bankrupt. The story of her rise, fall, and financial struggles reveals a journey from model to businesswoman to a bankruptcy hearing. Price rose to fame in the 1990s as a model, gaining attention for her various enhancements and frequent appearances in men's magazines. Despite starting in a down-market career displaying her assets, Price diversified her interests, venturing into publishing, fashion, and reality television. She got pretty famous famous through various reality TV shows, including I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where she met her future husband, pop star Peter Andre. Price's relationship with Andre propelled them into the limelight, leading to several more reality TV shows, commercial deals, and a highly publicized marriage. Price's career flourished during this period, and she became a self-proclaimed businesswoman with ventures into autobiographies, novels, underwear, perfume, and clothing lines. At her peak, she was reported to be worth £45 million, a testament to her successful branding and business endeavors. But as the reality TV landscape evolved, with new, higher-profile faces emerging on other shows, Price's popularity began to wane. Younger and more cost-effective personalities entered the scene. Her decline was further exasperated by personal challenges, including a tumultuous love life, multiple divorces, and her mother's terminal illness. Financial troubles started to surface as her businesses struggled, and her once grand £2 million Sussex mansion fell into disarray. Reports revealed her mounting debts, including being £100,000 behind on her mortgage, with monthly repayments of £10,000, and collectors actually showed up at her door to get money she owed. To maintain her lavish lifestyle, Price incurred significant expenses, including £120,000 on housekeepers, gardeners, and nannies, £1,500 on manicures and pedicures every other day, and an annual expenditure of £12,000 on hair extensions. Her attempts to keep up appearances and fund her lifestyle led her to sell her clothes on eBay, which is a pretty big departure from her former life. In a desperate bid to address her financial issues, Price entered into an individual voluntary arrangement with her creditors, aiming to repay her debts. Unfortunately, she failed to adhere to the terms of the agreement, so her creditors pushed for bankruptcy, which was filed, and an official receiver took control of her financial affairs and property. The once wealthy Katie Price, who bragged about her ability to turn everything she touched into gold, found herself in the challenging position of bankruptcy. It's a pretty steep fall to once being worth £45 million and being reduced to selling your wardrobe on eBay. What are some of the dumbest things people will do because their brains decided to take a nap? Let's find out, starting with number 6, busted. Carlos Mejia from Queens, New York, decided he had had enough of local thieves targeting his deliveries. In a clever stunt to nab a thief, he set up decoy packages outside his door, knowing well that many porch pirates don't consider the commonality of doorbell cameras these days. The trap was set, and sure enough, Victor Stazzone took the bait. Caught on Mejia's home security camera, which later grabbed over 800,000 views on TikTok, Stazzone is seen tiptoeing to the porch, seizing the package, and attempting to cram it into his backpack. Just as he grabbed the box, filled merely with old French fries and a sternly worded note, Mejia stormed out, wielding a baseball bat. Stazzone's shock was evident as he tried to argue that he actually owned the items in his bag. When he realized that wasn't going to work, he switched tactics with panicked offers of, "You can have everything, bro." But the offers fell on deaf ears as furious Mejia confronted him. Despite Stazzone's insistence that he lived nearby, Mejia was having none of it. Stazzone tried to escape by scaling a fence, but Mejia was quick to pull him back and pin him down until police arrived. Lying face down and handcuffed, Stazzone's confused questions about his arrest added to the scene's absurdity. Police took Stazzone into custody as he dramatically called for an ambulance and whined about his hand. He faced charges including petty larceny, criminal possession of stolen property, and criminal trespass. Mejia later shared the decoy package's contents on TikTok, revealing the old fries and a humorous note that essentially warned thieves that they might not be so lucky next time. It's weird that this is still a thing, considering how many doorbell cameras there are and how more and more people are getting identified and caught. You can literally see the camera as you walk up. Why even bother? So you can steal someone else's commemorative Minecraft mug and a pack of Tupperware? Dumb. Number 5. She thought it was fun. Amber McCann from Palm Coast, Florida, was arrested at a local Walmart after swiping a cart full of goods valued at $1,000. Casually admitting to the deed, she humorously claimed she was merely playing a game she seemingly just made up called 21, a challenge to shoplift as much as possible without getting caught, which is somehow different from ordinary shoplifting. Anyway, her laugh-filled confession was captured on police body cam footage. The situation escalated when police searched her boyfriend's vehicle, uncovering not only the stolen Walmart merchandise, but also a variety of contraband. Items found included a digital scale, a substance similar to concentrated cannabis, a glass pipe with residue, and bags that had once held various illegal substances. A locked safe containing various precious metal bars was also discovered, adding more questions to an already confusing scene. McCann's initial claim that she had just stashed the stolen items in some random car. However, it was pretty obvious that she was lying, and the cops knew it, so she finally admitted the car was her boyfriend's and insisted he was oblivious to her criminal activities. McCann's fun game landed her in deep trouble, facing a multitude of charges. In Florida, her level of shoplifting, between $300 and $20,000, could be punished by up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. And what a weird excuse, right? Was she really thinking that if she told the police that she was just playing a fun game that they'd let her go? The sad thing is, with all these dumb internet challenges around, we actually had to look up if this was a real game or not. It isn't. Number 4. Simply greed. Martin Mizrahi, the CEO of Las Vegas internet service provider LV.net, was convicted for his involvement in a shocking credit card fraud and money laundering operation. This businessman, who loved showing off his luxury life online, found himself in serious trouble after a 12-day trial in Manhattan federal court. Initially arrested in 2022, Mizrahi was charged alongside 3 others in a scheme that laundered up to $4 million. This included $3 million swiped from a New York nonprofit and dirty money from a Mexican cartel. Mizrahi utilized Bitcoin for these shady transactions, converting the ill-gotten gains into crypto and sending them to anonymous digital wallets. And the fraud didn't stop there. Mizrahi's company processed nearly $8 million in fake credit card charges. He fabricated invoices and duped banks and credit card companies into thinking these charges were legit. His extravagant lifestyle, funded by this fraud, was no secret either, as his Instagram was plastered with images of luxury cars, expensive watches, and high-end vacations. Mizrahi's defense was a staunch denial of any wrongdoing, claiming he believed the funds were from legitimate sources. However, the evidence presented at trial proved otherwise, convincing the jury of his guilt across multiple charges, including wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, and identity theft. The verdict was clear. Mizrahi had misused his company as a front to launder millions from trafficking and fraud. At the time of this video, Mizrahi is awaiting sentencing and faces a potential maximum of 127 years behind bars. The stupid thing about this is the guy was already doing really well for himself. His company is a well-known, popular internet provider in Vegas. It's been around since 1994. So why risk that for money that wouldn't change his lifestyle at all? Oh yeah, because of greed. Number 3. The Pretend Cop. Evelyn Ibarra Fernandez from West Lake Hills, Texas, found herself in big trouble after pulling a fast one by pretending to be a cop and trying to rob 3 women. She ended up charged with impersonating a public servant, a 3rd-degree felony. Things kicked off with a 911 call about reckless driving. The caller reported seeing a woman in the backseat of a car, apparently under the influence, frantically waving down passers-by for help. The call mysteriously dropped and attempts to reconnect failed. When police arrived at the scene, they stumbled upon 2 cars and 2 women standing outside. One of these women was Ibarra Fernandez, who was caught red-handed with a strong grip on another woman's arm. The other woman claimed that Ibarra Fernandez was holding onto her personal items. Police had to forcibly retrieve these items from Ibarra Fernandez, who got defensive during the ordeal. The plot thickened as officers learned from the 3 victims that Ibarra Fernandez had been tailing their car for about a mile, using her hazards and honking to get their attention. The victims pulled pulled over near a neighborhood gate code entry, and that's when Ibarra Fernandez made her move. She blocked their vehicle, claimed she was a police officer, and forcibly pulled one of the women from the back seat. She didn't stop there. She marched her victim away, swiping her ID, cell phone, and credit card. Doubling down on her act, Ibarra Fernandez returned to the vehicle, still masquerading as an officer, and rifled through another passenger's belongings, snagging $840, more IDs, and credit cards from a backpack. She tried her luck with the driver's side, but was denied access. Undeterred, she took photos of the stolen credit cards and IDs she already had. Police confronted Ibarra Fernandez and demanded to see the photos, but pretended like she didn't know what they were talking about, locking her phone and refusing to unlock her recently deleted photos. Her defense? She claimed she never said she was a police officer and was merely trying to help because she thought one of the women was taken under the influence. Of course, she also denied taking any property, despite blatantly having the property in her possession. Despite her protests, the evidence stacked against her painted a clear picture of exactly what went down, leading to her arrest. Number 2. Cruising to jail. Lexus Murr, a 31-year-old from Raleigh, North Carolina, was arrested in Miami for funding a lavish family vacation with 8 stolen credit cards. Her extravagant spending spree included booking 2 staterooms on the Oasis of the Seas, a luxury Royal Caribbean cruise ship, for a week-long Caribbean cruise costing an insane $22,400. Murr's high seas adventure began with the cruise scheduled to visit exotic locations like Labadee in Haiti, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, and the Bahamas. However, her tropical escapade was cut short by vigilant Royal Caribbean staff who detected suspicious activities linked to her bookings. On the morning of her return to Miami, police officers and U.S. Customs and Border Protection were waiting for her at the port of Miami. An investigation revealed Moore was carrying 4 of the stolen credit cards in her wallet, confirming her involvement in the fraud as Moore faced serious charges. Moore's case is a stark reminder that even on the high seas, crime doesn't pay. Unless you're an actual pirate, then it pays, but not very well. Cruise ships like the Oasis of the Seas are equipped with sophisticated technology to detect and prevent fraud, working closely with financial institutions to monitor on-board transactions. Lexus Moore's arrest highlights not only the reach of law enforcement across borders, but also the false sense of security that criminals might feel when indulging in such high-profile fraudulent activities. And she spent over $22,000 on that cruise? Half of that was probably just for the onboard liquor, knowing those prices. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here for our past release to find out how police found this guy because of his dumb pictures. Number 1. The cover-up. Kirsty Williams, a teaching assistant from the UK, got herself tangled up in an insurance scam when her then-boyfriend, Ryan Lowe, crashed her car while trying to outrun the police. Kirsty falsely reported her Peugeot 108, basically a UK version of a Ford Fiesta, stolen after Ryan ditched the car in the bushes and vanished into the night. Ryan Lowe, a former amateur rugby player, had been speeding down a major road, refusing to stop for the cops. The chase escalated to speeds of 80 miles per hour on city roads before he crashed. The same night, Kirsty claimed to the police that her car had been stolen by some unknown thief, a story she stuck to until forensic tests revealed Ryan's DNA in the car. The plot thickened when the police raided Kirsty's home, uncovering a stash of illegal substances worth nearly $3,900, along with some weighing scales, cash, and a phone linked to Ryan's dealing activities. They even found a machete and canisters of laughing gas. Kirsty was quick to distance herself from the contraband and insisted Ryan had told her to report the car stolen. She admitted to having spoken to him during the chase, begging him to stop. Meanwhile, Ryan defended his dealing as a desperate move to settle his own debts to avoid injury from unsavory people he owed money to. Despite their troubles, Kirsty and Ryan managed to avoid jail time. Kirsty pleaded guilty to her charges and received a 10-month suspended sentence. Ryan also pleaded guilty to multiple charges and got a 2-year suspended sentence. What are some of the dumbest decisions people will make because they put their brains on pause? Let's find out. Starting with number 7, the inappropriate tape. Ivana Williams, a former Mississippi Highway Patrol officer, was fired after allegedly handing out a naughty tape featuring herself and another woman to fellow officers. Like, you gotta be really into yourself to just pass a video around like that unsolicited, you know? And as you might guess, the little stunt blew up in her face. And led to a legal battle where the unnamed woman in the video tried to sue Williams, claiming unauthorized distribution of the video. So Williams is countersuing the other woman as well as the department, insisting that her firing was both retaliatory and discriminatory. The unnamed woman said in her lawsuit that she wasn't aware she was being recorded and that Williams had shared the video without her consent. The video became widely spread when Williams' boyfriend found it on his device, leading to sharing among officers, implying that he may have had something to do with the distribution as well. The unnamed victim said in her lawsuit that she was highly intoxicated during the incident and couldn't recall much of that night. Upon discovery of the video's existence, she demanded its deletion, but it was too late, as it had already been shared all over the place. Williams, active on social media with over 10,000 followers, denied all allegations, insisting that the encounter was consensual and that the video was only shared with one other person, meaning her boyfriend. She argued that her termination was in retaliation for her grievance filed with the Department of Public Safety and claimed gender discrimination. However, 2 male troopers involved were also fired, so that argument doesn't seem to hold much water. In her appeal, Williams argued that her reassignment to Bolivar County from Rankin County, which distanced her from her children, was without explanation. She was then terminated shortly after the reassignment. Williams' appeal claimed there was unprofessional conduct, which is a bit of the pot and kettle, right? And misuse of state property, which she disagrees with, referring to the situation as a she said conflict. The unnamed woman's lawsuit seeks $11 million in damages, while Williams is counterclaiming for $20 million. Both suits are ongoing with no court date set at the time of this video. Williams insists on her innocence and is eager for her day in court to clear her name. But in our opinion, it's not looking real good for her. It's really dumb to us that in today's digital age, where everything can be tracked, someone would risk their career and reputation by passing around inappropriate videos to their colleagues. In one of her posts on Instagram and TikTok in June of 2024, she's offering to make a bikini photo shoot if she gets 1 million followers on TikTok. Clearly she likes the attention. We all have the freedom to make the choices we have in life, but it seems that a lot of people conveniently forget we don't have the freedom to escape the consequences of our choices. Supposedly secretly recording someone and then passing around the video, she was guaranteed to get caught. Number 6. She only had one. Florida woman Courtney Alice Callahan got herself into some trouble on her 28th birthday because, you know, Florida. She was arrested and booked into jail for a DUI after an incident on a highway off-ramp. In the early hours of the morning, a call came in about a white sedan parked on a highway off-ramp with the driver asleep at the wheel. The deputy responding to the scene found the car running and in park. He knocked on the window and woke the driver, later identified as Courtney Callahan. Despite repeated requests to roll down the window, Callahan began pressing the accelerator multiple times, but the car was in park. After several attempts to get her to open the window, the deputy eventually opened the driver's door and asked Callahan to step out. When he asked for her driver's license, insurance, and registration, Callahan fumbled around her car and tried to hand the deputy a pile of cash instead. When asked why she was handing over cash, since it looked like a bribe, she weirdly asked if her cash wasn't an incident. She then said that the officer had asked for her incident, which according to Callahan meant her cash. Yeah, she was drunk. Callahan admitted to having one shot of 1800 tequila after work. She then gave multiple reasons for why she was stopped on the ramp, including being on the phone, a friend being in an incident, whatever that means, and needing to nap because she was tired. She insisted that all her friends were intoxicated, but she wasn't, which is such a drunk thing to say, isn't it? I'm not drunk, you're drunk, sir. She also mentioned that multiple people tried to buy her shots for her birthday, which she clearly refused. However, the deputy said he could smell the strong odor of alcohol on Callahan's breath, which became more pronounced as she spoke. She struggled to maintain a coherent conversation and repeatedly mentioned the word incident. Callahan refused to perform field sobriety exercises, not that that was necessary, and also refused to provide a breath sample. Courtney Alice Callahan was charged with DUI and was booked into jail and was released about 9 hours later, without incident. Number 5. Dangling around. One hapless thief in Washington state led police on a dramatic chase before ending up stuck on a telephone wire, according to the Vancouver Police Department. Police in Vancouver responded to a call about a suspect breaking into a vehicle and stealing a bunch of stuff. The suspect then apparently went into a nearby yard and allegedly stole a bike. A neighbor witnessed the theft and chased the suspect, later identified as Ramondo E. Stanley. Then, for whatever reason, Stanley ditched the bike and fled on foot, which generally isn't a faster way to make an escape, but whatever. Maybe he didn't have a helmet, you know? Safety first. Anyway, while police were dealing with the victims, another officer was dispatched to a report of a man matching Stanley's description who had broken into a business, taken an employee's cell phone, and struck that employee in the chest before fleeing. During the search, officers received a report that the same man was now on a roof throwing bricks, causing damage to several buildings. Crisis negotiators attempted to get Stanley to come down, but he refused. Stanley then tried to cross the street using telephone wires, because he apparently thinks like a 10-year-old. He's lucky those weren't power lines. But he couldn't make it, so he ended up dangling on them for about 45 minutes. Negotiators continued their efforts to bring him down safely, and a Vancouver fire engine was parked below to protect him if he fell. And seriously, what was his plan after 10 minutes of dangling on those lines? To wait the police out? 10 minutes is more than enough time to assess the situation and realize that you're going to fall, you know? Instead, he's hanging in there. Eventually, Stanley lost his grip and fell onto the fire engine. He was taken into custody and evaluated at a hospital before being booked into Clark County Jail on charges of robbery 2, theft 3, and malicious mischief. How about that one dude's neighbor though, right? That guy chased down someone that stole his neighbor's bike. We'd be like, sorry bro, some idiot stole your bike, but we're not taking a possible screwdriver to the neck to get it back for you. But that guy was out chasing him. Kudos to that neighbor. Number 4, going either way. In Sao Paulo, Brazil, a driver got the bright idea of using his bright green Lamborghini to chase down an armed robber who had just stolen his Rolex. The incident, captured on video, shows the lengths to which the driver went to retrieve his watch. We're gonna say this is a new flex for this guy to tell at a party to show the type of rich people problems he's having. As the Lamborghini waited at a red light, a motorbike pulled up. The thief, brandishing a firearm, demanded the driver's Rolex. After handing over the watch, the 64-year-old driver decided to take matters into his own hands. So he sped off after the fleeing robber, and to make matters worse, the robber was attempting an illegal turn. The footage showed the driver hitting the gas on his Lamborghini, then ultimately crashing into the motorbike and a pole. The impact sent the robber flying, but he quickly got back on his feet and ran away, leaving his motorbike behind. Onlookers rushed to assist the Lamborghini driver. Police arrived at the scene and recovered the suspect's motorbike, a mobile phone, and a .32 caliber firearm, which they used to ID the suspect. However, the Sao Paulo PD wasn't able to track him down, so at the time of this video, he's possibly making more illegal turns and robbing people with his injuries unknown. It's wild that this guy was willing to sacrifice a car that's worth that much to recover a far less expensive, but still expensive watch. But hey, sometimes it's the principle. It might work out for the guy though, depending on how insurance decided to cover the loss. It's either a super smart or super dumb move. Number 3, deep water. A driver in Texas put herself in a soggy situation when she attempted to drive her Nissan sedan through a flooded parking lot. The incident, recorded by a bystander, showed the woman's car being swept away by the floodwaters. This footage was later shared on YouTube by Storyful News and Weather, capturing dangerous and easily avoidable circumstances that unfolded. The video began with the person recording expressing concern about what the driver was clearly going to attempt. He wondered aloud if she would turn around or risk driving through the potentially deep puddle. And despite his warnings, the woman continued driving because no flood is going to tell her where she can drive. Of course, the car was quickly submerged and began to float because the puddle was far deeper than it appeared. The person recording was worried and started shouting, "What are you doing? You're literally driving right into it." Too bad she couldn't actually hear any of his actually helpful commentary. The floodwaters had risen from a nearby creek, inundating the parking lot. The recording person yelled in desperation, urging the driver to stop. However, it was too late as the front of the Nissan became completely submerged and the car started floating away. Fortunately, the woman was rescued by a passerby who helped her out of the car. The person recording confirmed that the driver was okay as he captured the rescue efforts. The National Weather Service advises against driving through floodwaters due to hidden dangers such as debris, sharp objects, and possible contamination. Even 6 inches of water can cause a car to lose control, while a foot can float many vehicles. Basically, don't drive through water if you can't see the ground. Have you ever tried something like this? One of us on the Pablito's Way team back in their teenage years had a similar situation, but the car just got stuck in the mud with about 4 inches of water. Then someone called the news and said that the car was trapped in a flood and needed a rescue, so there were helicopters and police. Not gonna out who it was though. Tell us about your story in the comments below. Number 2, record and post. Javon Gomes from St. Petersburg, Florida, was arrested and charged after a series of reckless actions on his motorbike, which he then uploaded to social media. The charges included fleeing and eluding, which seems redundant, but okay, racing on the highway, and threatening a police officer. Gomes was seen riding a Suron electric motorbike, which is basically an electric dirt bike, dangerously through downtown St. Petersburg. He was popping wheelies, running red lights, cutting off cars, driving on sidewalks, and ignoring police attempts to pull him over. Due to city policy, officers didn't chase Gomes immediately, but instead investigated the incident in the following weeks. It seems like a weird policy to not pursue, since this guy was obviously posing a direct threat to the public, but whatever you say, St. Petersburg. Detectives found a video of the incident posted on YouTube titled "Cops Tried to Take Down Surin," recorded with a helmet camera. In the now deleted video, Gomes and another biker are seen performing wheelies through downtown. Gomes made comments like, "You can't catch me, you can't do anything about it," while riding circles around a police car. Because, taunting the police always makes them feel defeated and ready to just let people go, right? What a dope. Gomes' dumb decision to upload the video to YouTube ultimately led to his arrest, reminding everyone how stupid it is to publicly share evidence of criminal behavior. If you're gonna do a crime, and we know you're not the type, but if you had to do a crime, don't record it. And if you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here to find out how her dumb revenge plot went wrong. Number 1, pushing scams. Sky Wheatley, a popular internet personality with a significant following, got a bunch of people upset with her for recommending a fraudulent account to her giant following. The former winner of I'm a Celebrity Australia 2024, Sky publicly apologized on Instagram, expressing regret over the situation. But this wasn't the first time she was scammed. It was like the third. Sky Wheatley's mental misstep started when she recommended an account to her followers, which turned out to be a scam. She shared a message from a follower who fell victim to this scam, urging her fans to ignore her previous recommendation. Sky candidly admitted that she hadn't thought through her recommendation, blaming her impulsiveness on her ADHD. She explained that the account was suggested to her by a follower who claimed it could help restore her TikTok account, which had been taken down. Sky, hoping for a quick resolution, posted about the service without verifying its legitimacy. Oops. Obviously feeling bad, Sky shared a screenshot of the account, detailing how she fell for the scam. She also shared a message from a fan who disclosed that her boyfriend was another victim of the scam artist. Apologizing profusely, Sky expressed her guilt and disappointment for unintentionally leading others into a trap. She revealed she had paid $300 to the scammer, thinking they could help her. Sky's ordeal with the scam account followed a previous scam involving eye drops from Thailand. She had bought these drops to treat a benign eye condition called pinguicula, which is a harmless yellowish raised growth on the white part of the eye, but found them ineffective after using them for 5 months. Despite her attempts to contact the clinic, she received no response, leading her to suspect it was a scam. Sky's experience with bad decisions isn't new. In 2015, she underwent a botched surgery, also in Thailand, as part of a promotional deal with a medical tourism company. The surgery left her with a double bubble, a condition where the implant sits lower than where it's supposed to be. This forced her to get some corrective surgery years later. In her apology, Sky talked about the importance of doing thorough research before making recommendations or purchasing products online, something she should apparently be doing on her own. She used her past experiences as cautionary tales for her followers, urging them to avoid similar pitfalls. She doesn't sound like a great ambassador for Thailand though, does she? As a reminder though, don't ever just take an influencer's recommendations at face value. They're about as bought and paid for as you can get. Who are a few of the dumbest criminals around? Let's find out, starting with number 5, seeking hands. Kaylee Renee Medina has been arrested for going after her 61-year-old date in a fit of anger. Medina was a 26-year-old sugar baby who thought she had found her perfect sugar daddy on seekingarrangement.com, which is now simply seeking.com. Her date thought he was meeting the perfect girl for an arrangement he was seeking, but obviously he was wrong. Seeking.com is a place where young women meet older men that they call sugar daddies. You can probably guess what these arrangements are like. And, like anything online, it's not without its risks considering the type of people who are likely to sign up for sites such as Seeking.com, such as Medina, who isn't a stranger to getting arrested. Medina had one meetup with the victim, and he decided he wasn't interested in seeing her again. However, Medina was very much interested in still seeing the man, probably because he smelled like money. So she did the only rational thing you can do to attract the attention of an older, wealthy man. She turned up at his house at 2:30 a.m. and asked to be let in. The victim probably didn't want to leave her standing outside, so he let her in and gave her some wine, which ended up being the biggest mistake he made that day. Medina then asked him for $2,000, and he politely declined, saying he didn't have that kind of money. So Medina went into a crazy rage and started destroying things around the house. She smashed the victim's flat-screen TV, his custom-made entertainment center, a painting, and put holes in his walls. When that wasn't enough, she decided to pour detergent on her victim's head, causing injuries. You may think that would be all, but you'd be wrong. After pouring detergent all over his head, Medina stole a bunch of stuff such as a surveillance camera, a Dyson hairdryer, the man's passport, and an Apple Pro Max iPhone. Because why not? The dumb thing is, it's not like she wasn't going to be easily identified and arrested since she had to sign up for the site and the guy had her number. Number 4, the double check. A dim-witted Florida man attempted a bizarre robbery at a phone repair store wearing a cardboard box over his head as a disguise. It worked in Metal Gear, right? The heist took place around 4 a.m. when the thief aimed to make off with a stash of 19 iPhones and $8,000 in cash for a total value of $15,000. Surveillance footage captured the intruder's unusual antics as he struggled to break open a glass cabinet that housed the iPhones. At first, the cardboard box concealed his face, hiding his identity. But during his clumsy attempt to nab the phones, he finally lifted the box for a moment to get a better look at what phones he was gathering, in front of a security camera. The box-wearing robber's move proved to be his downfall. The store owner, Jeremias Berganza, came across the surveillance footage and recognized the man. He quickly took action, alerting local authorities who arrested the thief after finding him casually enjoying a drink with friends at a nearby liquor store. Why he was so concerned about which phone he was stealing enough to lift the box is anyone's guess. Even cheap phones are still worth something, but being picky caused him a world of trouble. And while he looked stupid in his box, as the saying goes, if it works, it's not stupid. Too bad he was stupid. Number 3, all in his name. Patrick Parker Walsh may be the CEO of AirSign Airship Group, but that doesn't mean he's very smart. Patrick was sentenced to jail for 5.5 years for stealing from the government in possibly the dumbest way possible. This more air than brains guy committed his fraud by applying for $7.8 million in payroll protection funding from the government during the pandemic. But he only needed $2 million of what he requested. So to trick the government into giving him that amount of money, Patrick submitted fake loan applications that claimed that he needed much more than his business actually required. But after getting his hands on the funds, Patrick did the dumbest thing possible. He used the money to make vanity purchases, such as a private 2-acre island in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Yankeetown, Florida. He also used part of the money to pay off the 78-acre farm where he lives south of Gainesville. Lastly, he used the money to put a down payment on a luxury ski lodge in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. All these purchases showed that Patrick wasn't some broke little man trying to save his business. He was looking to take advantage of a situation. According to his own lawyer, he wasn't even a particularly good businessman and made a bunch of bad decisions taking out high-interest loans. And while he was pretty well off, he wasn't clever enough to realize that his extravagant purchases would attract government attention. Perhaps he shouldn't have spent all of that money all at once and should have been more creative in hiding it. Come on, buying a 2-acre island in his own name isn't the smartest thing to buy with stolen funds because it's all traceable. We aren't exactly trying to teach anyone how to be better criminals or anything, but if he were smarter, he would have taken the money out either in cash and spent it slowly while pretending to have gambled it all away. Or he could have given money away to family members and have them put assets in their names while having them open up some fake businesses to launder the cash. Number 2, her mugshot portfolio. Rihanna Bell Brooke is a troubled young woman who's gone viral for having a strange medley of 11 mugshots. She's been busted for everything from shoplifting to stalking. The strange thing is that Rihanna seems to enjoy getting arrested, going by the smiles in all of her mugshots and also commenting on her posts by Mugshotty on Instagram. Brooke's first arrest was in 2019 when she was just 18, and since then she's made an appearance in 10 more mugshots. The obvious reason that she's so popular on Mugshotties is that she's good looking, and she also has that average girl next door looks. She's not the sort of person you'd expect to see in one mugshot, let alone 11. Some of her fans say they need a documentary on her criminal escapades, while others warn her, saying she's ruining her future by getting into so much trouble with the police. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay tuned right here to find out how this girl tried to steal $1 million from her sugar daddy. Number 1, the serious user. Aram Shabani came to the UK as an Iranian refugee, but he was determined to make something of himself. So, in order to accomplish this, he got into illegal substance trading and became one of the biggest crime lords in the UK. As a wealthy crime boss, Aram lived his best life. He partied hard, stayed in luxury hotels, drove luxurious vehicles, built up a £5 million property empire, and acquired a collection of expensive art such as pieces from Banksy and Andy Warhol. He also had about £1 million in cash on hand just sitting around, like you do. That's all aside from the small fortune on cosmetic surgeries, including a nose job and a hair transplant. Aram flew under the radar by claiming his wealth came from his £5 million property empire. But he didn't build his criminal empire alone. He had help from his mom, Fatma Shabani, who helped him launder his money through mortgage crime and laundering the illegal proceeds of his crimes. But Fatma couldn't help him forever, as both mother and child soon came under police scrutiny. When Fatma became wanted in Europe, she fled to her native Syria, where she hid. When Fatma found out that her son was in trouble, she returned to the UK to try and help, but was immediately arrested at the airport. And how did Aram, the kingpin, get busted? Daredevil. Just kidding. Actually, the police raided his luxury apartment and found an unholy cache of illegal substances. They also found over £1 million in cash and 11 money counting machines, which all prove that he had been running a pretty complex underground operation. Luckily, Aram had a genius excuse for having so many banned substances in his home. Apparently, he claimed to be a serious user and that everything was for personal use. Oh, okay. Aram also said that his trips to Colombia were only to have parties and meet pretty women. Surprisingly, the police didn't fall for his excuses and immediately hauled him to prison. In court, the authorities were able to prove that Aram was a kingpin and he was sentenced to 37 years in jail. His mother, on the other hand, was sentenced to 10 months in prison for her crimes. And okay, we're not dealers, and we don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of the trade, but it seems like keeping an insane amount of product in your house could be very problematic. Why keep it where you live? Didn't he watch The Wire? What are some of the dumbest decisions that people will make? Let's find out, starting with number 7, cash only. In Colombia, a 67-year-old man found himself in need of surgery after swallowing over 3 dozen rolls of cash. Complaining of vomiting, nausea, and extreme constipation for over a month, the man admitted to ingesting 30 latex-covered capsules filled with cash, with only 20 being expelled naturally. Upon examination, the doctors discovered that the compact masses of paper currency had become wedged in the man's stomach, making it impossible to extract them through the throat. Diagnosed with pyloric stenosis, a condition typically seen in infants, the patient had a tightened valve connecting the stomach and small intestine, restricting the passage of food. Facing a unique surgical challenge, doctors opted for laparoscopic surgery, creating a small incision near the affected area to remove the rolls of cash. The procedure was successful, and the man was discharged 18 hours later, showing no long-term ill effects. The motive behind the man's decision to ingest the cash remains unclear, but speculation suggests he might have been a mule transporting illegal money across borders. In the world of trafficking, mules often hide things in various ways, including swallowing them. Colombia is known for being a significant player in that specific global trade, being the largest producer of nose beers worldwide. That, and contributing to many pointless late nights having to listen to pointless rants for certain unfortunate people. Anyways, it seems this was a plan without an exit plan, because in this bizarre scenario, the man's decision to swallow rolls of cash raises questions about the lack of foresight in executing such a risky plan, whether driven by desperation, coercion, or a misguided sense of strategy. The man found himself in a precarious situation that required medical attention. For the little cherry on top, the hospital reported that the money was unusable post-surgery. While the man's health was preserved, his financial scheme ended up in a literal stomachache. Number 6. The Prettiest Cops. A group of female NYPD officers got in trouble when photos of them in uniform appeared on a provocative Instagram account. The officers allegedly violated the department's social media policy by posting pictures of themselves in uniform away from official ceremonies. The photos, featured on platforms like Blue Line Beauties, dedicated to law enforcement women, showcase officers posing both on and off duty. The images, submitted by officers wanting to be featured on the profile, depict a variety of scenarios, from a policewoman with a Santa badge above her uniform to selfies flaunting cleavage and night-out preparations. Sharing such images violates NYPD regulations, which prohibit officers from taking and posting uniform pictures online unless at official events. The NYPD implemented social media guidelines in 2013, emphasizing the importance of officers exercising good judgment and professionalism online. The department stressed that personal social media sites could impact credibility, interfere with official police business, compromise investigations, and affect employment status. Disciplinary actions for breaching these guidelines range from the loss of vacation days to termination from the force. In this case, sources suggest that the female officers involved may face a vacation day penalty of up to 10 days. The incident echoes a previous investigation into NYPD officers posing with patrol cars and motorcycles on dating profiles. The NYPD deputy commissioner said that posting uniform photos without authorization aims to protect officers from revealing potentially compromising information on social media. So what do you think? Were sharing these alluring photos a bad decision? Or were these cops simply exercising their right to express themselves? Number 5. Robbing Peter, robbing Paul. In Colorado, a group of really slick armed robbers found themselves at the mercy of a car thief who managed to steal their getaway vehicle right from under their noses. The scene unfolded at the high-low check cashing business in Commerce City, where 3 masked individuals were attempting an armed robbery. The security cameras captured the robbers' black car with magenta tape on one of the black windows, circling the parking lot before parking. As fate would have it, the criminals made a critical error. They forgot to lock their own getaway vehicle. Seizing the opportunity, another keen-eyed thief jumped into the car and sped away, leaving the robbers without a getaway car. The Commerce City Police Department humorously acknowledged the situation on Facebook. While the armed robbers had to resort to fleeing on foot, the police managed to apprehend 2 of them, revealing them to be teenagers aged 14 and 15. Loaded firearms were found in their possession. The stolen getaway car, believed to be an already stolen Kia, added another layer of irony to the situation. As for the unidentified car thief, the police posted a message that said that they'd like to shake the car thief's hand, then arrest them for stealing cars. Ultimately, we can't help but wonder why the getaway driver needed to get out of the car and go inside to begin with. So unprofessional. Number 4. Not Oscar-worthy. In a strange case of insurance fraud, a New Jersey man, Alexander Goldinsky, was caught on camera orchestrating a fake slip and fall incident at a company cafeteria. The incident involved Goldinsky deliberately spilling a cup of ice onto the floor before theatrically lying down and waiting to be discovered. Goldinsky, an independent contractor working for All Gold Industries, what a crazy name coincidence, right, was subcontracted for work at the business where the fall was staged. Surveillance footage captured him filling a cup with ice from a soda machine, tossing the ice onto the floor, and then carefully positioning himself as if he had slipped. Following the orchestrated fall, Goldinsky filed insurance claims for an ambulance ride and treatment for injuries supposedly sustained during the fall. The surveillance video, however, revealed the entire charade, leading to Goldinsky's arrest. He faced charges of third-degree insurance fraud and third-degree theft by deception. Goldinsky eventually pleaded guilty to third-degree insurance fraud, and he was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 14 hours of community service. Additionally, he was ordered to pay $563 in restitution to the health insurance company. The case was part of a statewide crackdown on insurance fraud by the New Jersey Attorney General's office. If you didn't know, faking a fall is really stupid, and faking it in front of a camera is even dumber, like way more stupid, especially when the evidence is as clear as ice on the floor. It's safe to say Goldinsky's attempt at a slippery insurance scam didn't land on solid ground. Shouldn't he at least look around to see if there were cameras? Since he probably lost his job due to his bad acting, he should change his name to Fake Tripinski, or Oops, dropped ice on the floor, hope I don't fall in ski, or, whatever. Number 3, hindbrain activity. A trio of young women, including Acacia Friedman, who was previously pictured cozying up to Bill Clinton at a Hillary rally, found themselves mixed up in legal troubles. Friedman, alongside University of Miami students Maury Noun and Samara Charlton, faced arrests after a sting at a luxurious hotel. Noun allegedly played a role in setting up dates for Friedman and Charlton to an undercover police officer at the 4-star Colonnade Hotel in Miami. During the sting operation, Noun allegedly negotiated a price for, let's call it some fun times in their birthday suits, asking for more than the $8,000 initially offered. The police arrested Friedman and Charlton as they arrived at the upscale hotel, while Noun was detained separately. Interestingly, Acacia Friedman's previous connection to Bill Clinton was highlighted when a photo of her posing with the former president surfaced. The image, posted on her now deleted Twitter page, added a layer of intrigue to the story. The date of the photo was unclear, but Clinton's campaign pin suggested it might have been during Hillary's presidential campaign between August 2015 and November 2016. Eventually, Maury Noun reached a plea deal, agreeing to undergo rehab, serve 2 years of house arrest, and 2 years of probation. There have been no further reports of the trio getting involved in any more criminal activities, so it seems that this legal intervention may have been a blessing in disguise. Number 2. Excuse the hindbrain again. In Caesar's Palace on the Vegas Strip, a man's stroke of luck at a blackjack table quickly turned into a tale of misfortune. After winning $125,000, the unnamed man found himself at the center of a heist allegedly orchestrated by 2 women, Karina Singleton and Maria Vanderwall, who were accused of executing a trick roll. The incident unfolded after the man, attending a conference at the hotel, cashed out his winnings from a blackjack game. In a plot reminiscent of a casino caper movie, the man ran into Singleton and Vanderwall in the casino, but somehow he doesn't recall inviting them to his room. Right. Now, we can only speculate about the gentleman's reasons for inviting the women upstairs, probably to talk about video games or discuss politics in the Balkans, circa 1918. Actually, it was probably for Bible study. Yes, that must have been what it was. Regardless, the man's conveniently hazy memory led to a rude awakening, as he later woke up to find his hard-earned $125,000 in cash and a $20,000 Rolex missing. The women, who spent approximately 15 minutes in the man's room, were captured on surveillance cameras exiting the hotel and making their way to the valet at the nearby Bellagio. From there, they hopped into a black SUV before returning to Caesar's Palace. The caper continued as parking garage cameras showed the duo rendezvousing with a white BMW, with Vanderwall reportedly flaunting a distinctive leopard print tattoo. Photos from another parking garage helped identify Singleton. The police tracked down their vehicles to homes in the greater Las Vegas area, leading to the arrests of the alleged culprits. Singleton, with a history of multiple arrests, faces an additional charge of conspiracy to commit grand larceny, while Vanderwall is charged with residential burglary in addition to larceny charges. The dumb decision here was the man's choice to win a substantial amount of cash, flaunt it, and then invite individuals renowned for their questionable morals. Sometimes it's best to savor a victory quietly, especially in a city known for its high-stakes escapades. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay tuned right here to find out about the people who completely lied about who they are. Number 1. Fake cop busted. Carl Colston Jr. from Maryland found himself on the wrong side of the law after an elaborate attempt to impersonate a cop. Colston's vigilante campaign involved him buying law enforcement gear and weapons, resulting in his arrest for impersonating a police officer. The unraveling of Colston's scheme began when the real police responded to a report of an armed individual in a Crown Victoria driving erratically on an off-ramp. The suspect, later identified as Colston, was reportedly honking and flashing white interior lights. When a victim waved to let the car pass, Colston allegedly pulled up alongside, flashed a badge, and forced the second driver to stop. Mimicking a police officer, he attempted a traffic stop, grabbing a tactical vest, displaying a badge, and claiming to be the police while calling for backup on a handheld radio. Colston then revealed that he was packing, although he didn't point it at the victim, but lifted it for visibility. The victim, quick on his feet, told Colston he was recording the incident and calling the real police. So Colston ran back to his Crown Victoria, where he sped away. An arrest warrant was issued, and ironically, Colston was apprehended during a routine traffic stop later in the week, taken into custody without incident. After further investigation, police discovered a cache of police and tactical equipment in Colston's possession, raising questions about how he obtained such gear. No one really knows why Colston wanted to pretend to be a cop, but we can guess the guy probably wanted to join the force but couldn't make the cut. In the age of advanced technology, real-time verification of an individual's law enforcement status can be easily conducted by authorities. Attempting to impersonate a police officer without hacking into police systems is just a bad idea all around. It's not a good idea to pretend to be a cop anyway, but if you're going to do it, you have to at least try to cover your tracks, right? This dude was literally flashing his interior lights at the guy he pulled over. What are some of the dumbest ideas people come up with? Let's find out. Starting with Number 5. Donations for music. Pastor Kong Hee stole $35 million from his church and used that money to fund his wife's pop music career, and then said he did all of this through God's instruction. Pastor Kong told his congregation that his wife's attempt to be an American pop star was just another way for the gospel to reach people. And his wife, Ho Yao Sun, who goes by the stage name Sun Ho, and sometimes as the Chinese geisha, a weird choice for a church lady, says it was all worth it because she got to preach to people through writing songs like Mr. Bill, which was about taking her husband's life. Imagine his face when Sun was like, "Hey, check out this song I wrote about you. Isn't it great?" And he's like, Sun Ho wasn't just a pastor's wife though. She was also a church leader and was part of the founding members of the church Kong Hee policed. The church, named City Harvest, has about roughly 16,000 weekly attending members in Singapore and elsewhere, and is one of the biggest churches in the country. The church was founded back in 1989 and began preaching a wealth-focused brand of Christianity that grew its membership quickly. By 2002, the church launched what it called the Crossover Project. This crossover wasn't a crossover from sin to righteousness like you might expect, but a crossover from gospel music to pop music, powered by Sun Ho. The goal of the project was for Sun Ho to spread the gospel through pop music, but in reality, the project was just a thinly veiled guise to funnel money from the church into Sun Ho's music career. Now, they could have gotten away with it had Sun Ho even made money from her music career. After years of entertaining the Asian market and becoming quite popular, Sun Ho and her husband decided to try and crack the US market, and they spent loads of money doing that. They even hired Wyclef Jean to get him to produce an album full of potential hits. In one music video produced by Wyclef, Sun Ho was grinding against strange bodies in her underwear, but she never quite took off despite spending millions on living in Beverly Hills, working with the best choreographers, and living the celebrity lifestyle. Perhaps the only impact she had in America was her flashy lifestyle and one award show she was invited to. Sun Ho's husband had taken up to $17 million from another church project to invest in his wife's career, and then used a further $18 million to hide the first crime from auditors. But he couldn't hide forever. After intimidating a slew of whistleblowers, Kong Hee finally got into trouble after Singaporean authorities decided to investigate the crossover project after receiving numerous complaints about it. That's when they found that Kong Hee had used the church's money to fund his wife's career. They realized that the man of God and 5 other church leaders had created a shell company called Extron and had then funneled money from the church's building project into sham bond investments in Extron. And Extron was the company used to power Pastor Kong's wife's career. The pastor was sentenced to 8 years behind bars, with other church leaders also getting lower sentences. The funny thing is that the beneficiary of the entire scheme, Sun Ho, didn't get into any trouble at all. The judge must not have listened to her music. We can safely say that it probably wasn't the wisest decision to spend a ton of money trying to make his wife famous. Number 4. The benefit scam. Mercedes Bradley scammed UK taxpayers out of about £10,000 in benefits payments while also having almost £50,000 in a secret account. Despite having that money in her secret savings account, Bradley continued to collect benefit payments. So how did she spend her secret cash? Well, Bradley loves staying fit, so she bought a £4,000 Peloton bike, got some cosmetic surgery on her chest, and also got a personal trainer to tighten things up. She also got designer dental work done. While she was collecting all these benefits, Bradley worked as an air hostess with EasyJet and Virgin Atlantic. Apparently, neither company gave enough benefits. Mercedes Bradley wasn't always a benefits thief, though. In 2018, when she first applied, she actually did need the money. According to universal credit rules, beneficiaries aren't supposed to have more than £16,000 in capital. In 2018, when Bradley applied, she didn't have that much money. However, in 2020, she came into a small fortune when her ex-boyfriends, as she called them, but it seems like they were more like sugar daddies, transferred almost £50,000 to her. Instead of refusing benefits at that point, Bradley continued receiving the payments until they racked up to about £10,000. We're not saying she should be scamming anyone, but if she's going to, wouldn't it be easier to just continue getting money from one of her sugar daddies? Why go after the government when there are guys who will just give her money? Bradley had a great gig going. So how did she finally get caught? Easy. Someone tipped the authorities off, and she quickly confessed to her crimes after she was questioned. She was arrested and had her day in court. But shockingly, Bradley was only sentenced to 12-month community order with a requirement of 150 hours unpaid work. If you think that was a lenient sentence, then you'd be mad to learn that the judge even complimented her on her shape during the sentencing. That £4,000 Peloton bike and her boob job really came in clutch. Number 3, caught live on TV. Patricia Rogers lied that a car accident left her unable to walk and claimed thousands of pounds in insurance benefits, but then appeared on a TV show when she jumped, danced, and ran across the stage. This was despite the fact that she had earlier claimed that it was impossible for her to walk without a stick. Maybe she was at Brother Love's Traveling Salvation show. Shout out to both of the Neil Diamond fans who know that song. When Patricia was asked how she could do all of that, despite having a very painful injury that stopped her from walking, she said it was because she was angry and that anger distracted her from the pain. Interesting. In 2014, Patricia was involved in a car accident, and after the accident, she filed a £492,000 civil injury claim against the driver's insurers. In her claim, she argued that the injury meant she couldn't get dressed on her own, carry anything heavy, or even walk unaided. When medical experts reviewed her case, they found no biological reason why Patricia should be unable to walk and decided that her condition was either largely exaggerated or psychological. And yet, despite this, she still somehow got her payment. But Patricia's house of lies came crashing down when the authorities gathered surveillance footage of Patricia in her house that showed her walking her dog unaided for more than 40 minutes. They also found evidence of Patricia walking and jumping about on the Jeremy Kyle show with absolutely no issues. This meant that Patricia had clearly lied about the severity of her condition, which meant she had committed insurance fraud. Law enforcement was looped into the case, and Patricia soon pled guilty to the crime of false representation. She was sentenced to 12 months in prison, but it was suspended for 18 months. The funny thing about this case is that the court only ordered her to pay restitution of just £500. Maybe the lesson we all should learn from this is that if you lie on an insurance claim that a car crash left you nearly paralyzed, you probably shouldn't go on national televisions to start jumping and running. Number 2, the threat. Ford employee Zachariah Peterson called in a threat to the Ford assembly plant where he worked, thinking it would give him a day off, but instead he got slammed with a felony. He put his idiotic plan into motion by making a call to the factory security that he was hiding in one of the bathrooms with loads of weapons and explosives strapped to his chest. He didn't identify himself and disguised his voice with a phone app and claimed that he would start firing if the entire building wasn't evacuated. Peterson then claimed that he was an employee and was tired of being worked like a slave. Afterwards, he said he just wanted the factory to close and everyone to go home for the night. What a weird thing for someone who wants to blow up a factory to say. No self-respecting Terry would ever say that. And investigators into the case thought so too. However, they ordered an evacuation because they didn't want to take any risk. And then the search began. It took 6 hours and more than 100 officers to completely search the complex. And by the time they were done, they realized that it was all a hoax. In the end, the police discovered the prank caller was Peterson, and he faced up to 7 years behind bars, although no public information was available on his final actual sentencing. If he wanted the day off and doing what he did, obviously he's fine with lying, he should have just said he had stomach issues. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here for our past release to find out what the real nightmare is for influencers all over. Number 1, cop resistance. Florida woman Iana Rollins faced up to 5 years in prison and maybe more after she resisted arrest. Authorities have charged her with 2 counts of resisting an officer with violence and 2 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer. So what on earth happened? The problem began when police officer Chad Weaver was responding to a burglar alarm in Deltona, Florida. But there was a tiny problem. Weaver wasn't responding to the right address. The alarm had gone on 2639 Ainsworth Avenue, while Weaver had gone to 2629 Academy Avenue, which was just 1 street over. When Officer Oopsies got to the location, he saw a silver vehicle backing out of the driveway, and he assumed this was related to the burglar alarm where he was supposed to be responding to. So he jumped out of his car and ordered the silver vehicle to stop while screaming profanities. Of course, having someone flipping out and swearing at you when you were just backing out of your driveway is going to make you mad. And Iana, who was driving the car, was mad. At first, she refused to stop, and then she got out of the vehicle and started responding to Weaver's profanities with profanities of her own. This was already a bad situation, but since Weaver didn't know that he was at the wrong address, he thought the best thing to do was to arrest Iana. You can probably guess how that went. Iana wasn't going to allow him to do that, so she started screaming, kicking, and even punching the confused officer. And then she resisted the deputy who Weaver called to assist him on the scene. Of course, that made Weaver even more determined to arrest her because she had now committed a crime, and it no longer mattered that he was responding to the wrong address. Iana's lawyer argued in court that none of the evidence of this confrontation can be admissible in court because Weaver had conducted an illegal arrest since he had no reason to even stop her car in the first place. But the authorities disagreed and said that it doesn't matter whether the arrest is legal or not. Citizens simply don't have the right to go after officers who are effecting an arrest. We get the logic of that rule, but is it correct to blame Iana for reacting the way she did after minding her own business and being randomly stopped by a policeman while she was pulling out of her driveway? This is the sort of situation that could have been sorted by more restraint on both sides. But since it wasn't, Iana faced up to a half-decade in prison. As of the release of this video, no sentencing details have been made readily available to the public. Who are the dumbest criminals around? Let's find out, starting with number 5. Can't stop, won't stop. Kieran Hamilton, a young crypto bro, never expected his social media presence to lead to something that would change his life. Known as Kez online, he grew a following through his flashy posts showing off his newfound wealth earned through trading crypto. His Instagram feed was filled with images of luxury cars, designer clothes, and exotic vacations. painting a picture of a lifestyle that seemed too good to be true for someone from a modest background. But the reality of Kez's situation turned dark one night when he was woken up by strange noises in his home. He encountered two armed men demanding money, contraband, and watches. The intruders, wielding machetes, were aggressive and wouldn't listen to Kez, telling them he wasn't a dealer. In a matter of minutes, Kez found himself hurt and robbed, his belongings ransacked, and his French bulldog Rambo taken. The event left Kez physically injured and emotionally shaken. His online persona, once a source of pride and success, had become a liability, attracting unwanted attention and putting him at risk of harm. Despite his claims of innocence and the absence of any evidence linking him to criminal activity, Kez had fallen victim to real-world crime. What makes Kez's story particularly tragic is that he wasn't a typical target for such a robbery. He wasn't a high-profile celebrity or a criminal. He was simply a man who had found a way to make money in a rapidly evolving digital landscape, only to have his success overshadowed by the darker side of deciding to show off online. In the aftermath of the robbery, Kez's life was irrevocably changed. He no longer felt safe in his own home and was forced to reassess his relationship with social media, something most people should probably do anyway. What was once a platform for sharing his achievements had become a source of fear and anxiety. Despite the trauma he endured, Kez remained resilient. He has since shifted his focus away from crypto trading and towards investing in property, seeking a more stable and secure source of income. While he acknowledges the role that social media played in his ordeal, he refuses to let it define him. Instead, he views his online presence as a means of documenting his journey and empowering others to pursue their dreams. Kez's story is a reminder of the dangers of living in an increasingly interconnected world. While social media offers countless opportunities for connection and self-expression, it seems like most of the time it just creates more problems than it solves. And hey, we can't fault the guy for wanting to show off when he first made some actual real money. Everyone who goes through it does something dumb with their money at least once. But the problem with flexing money online is that you never really know who's watching. And since it's the internet, if someone wants to find you, they're going to. Save some of the bragging. No one thinks it's cool anyway. Number 4. Penny pinching got pinched. Janie Renner, a UK-based QVC presenter known as Super MILF for her work selling slimming underwear on television, got in trouble cheating taxpayers out of more than £60,000 in a 6-year VAT fraud. VAT is the UK's value-added tax program, which is basically sales tax. Renner, 53, was earning a hefty salary of over £80,000 annually as a QVC presenter. However, her financial mismanagement led to her downfall. The fraudulent activities began in 2009, when Renner failed to submit any tax returns to Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, the HMRC, which is basically the UK's IRS. Despite her significant earnings, she neglected to pay VAT and income tax for her clothing business, which involved selling high-end scarves, sarongs, and fur hats at craft fairs and shows. Her failure to submit tax returns continued until 2015, when authorities discovered what she had been up to. The total amount of unpaid VAT amounted to roughly £50,000, with additional losses from unpaid income tax totaling around £61 and £500,000. Renner's financial troubles were exacerbated by a previous conviction for false accounting in 1995, for which she served a 6-month prison sentence. This time, her actions cost her not only her job with the shopping channel, but also her reputation and financial stability. Renner's defense argued that her offenses occurred during a period of overwhelming debt, and she expressed remorse for her actions and actually sold her home in order to repay her debts. However, her attempt to start fresh by marrying a Canadian and planning to move there was interrupted when she was arrested on a plane at Heathrow Airport. Despite facing serious charges, Renner was given a suspended 22-month prison sentence along with 300 hours of unpaid work. The judge cited her loss of job, business, and home as mitigating factors, opting to suspend the sentence. Despite her success as a QVC presenter, Renner's failure to pay her taxes led to legal trouble and tarnished her career. And the thing is, Renner could have avoided the whole thing by simply paying her taxes. Instead, she chose to take a risk, and it cost her dearly. The cost of prison is way higher than the cost of £60,000, that's for sure. Number 3. That belongs in a museum. Billy Petherick, a British YouTube property renovator, and his French wife Gwendolyn found themselves embroiled in a criminal case in France after being convicted of stealing artifacts from the French churches. The couple, known for their popular YouTube channel The Pethericks, chronicled their adventures renovating properties in France for their 360,000 subscribers. However, their escapades took a darker turn when they were found guilty of theft. Billy Petherick would enter churches and steal objects such as chalices, ciboriums, patens, or tabernacle keys, which he would then sell in the UK via eBay or to a secondhand dealer. Their criminal activities reportedly spanned over 40 thefts committed in 2014. Despite their YouTube fame and successful renovation business, the couple turned to illegal means to supplement their income. The saga of Billy Petherick took a twist when it was revealed that he had deserted the Household Cavalry, a prestigious regiment that guards the Queen, a decade earlier. His desertion came to light when he appeared on Channel 4's Escape to the Chateau DIY. The show inadvertently led to his identification by the military, as his exact address at the Chateau de la Basmenie in Pays de la Loire was disclosed during the broadcast. Billy Petherick's journey from a military deserter to a YouTube sensation turned criminal highlights the complexities of his past. He deserted the army in 2009, fled to France, where he started a new life with Gwendolyn. Despite the picturesque setting of their renovated chateau and the success of their YouTube channel, Petherick's criminal activities caught up with him. The sentencing in France saw Billy Petherick receiving a 1-year prison sentence and a €15,000 fine, while Gwendolyn was fined 10,000 euros. Additionally, their accomplice, a second-hand dealer, was fined €8,000. We can't help but question the logic behind Billy Petherick's decision to engage in criminal activities despite having such a big YouTube channel. With a pretty good-sized following and presumably a comfortable income from their business, resorting to theft seems unnecessary and flat-out stupid. The draw of easy money and the desire for material wealth may have clouded his judgment, leading to the consequences for him and his wife. We can just hear Indy now. That belongs in a museum. Number 2. Please rob them. Two New York City men, Rambai Patel and Balwinder Singh, got in trouble after allegedly staging a string of bogus armed robberies to exploit immigration benefits. The duo's ploy involved orchestrating at least 8 fake armed robberies, where a pretend robber would brandish what appeared to be a gun, snatch cash from store registers, then flee the scene. The entire act was captured by surveillance cameras strategically placed in the targeted stores. But their elaborate scheme had a strange twist. After the staged robberies, the store clerks were instructed to wait for 5 minutes or more before contacting the authorities to report the crime. This delay was supposedly aimed at creating the impression of a legitimate robbery scenario. The victims of these staged crimes, who were actually willing participants, paid Patel for his part in the charade. In return, Patel compensated the owners for allowing them to use their stores for the fake robberies. But why? The motive behind these fake robberies was to enable the store clerks to apply for a special immigration visa known as the U visa. This visa category is designed for immigrants who have suffered from crimes and have assisted law enforcement in prosecuting crimes. The U visa allows recipients to stay in the country for up to 4 years. Both Patel and Singh faced charges of conspiracy to commit visa fraud. Singh, apprehended in Queens, appeared before a federal judge in Boston, while Patel, arrested in Seattle, awaited trial in detention. If convicted, the duo could each face a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and a hefty fine of up to $250,000. The absurdity of the situation doesn't escape notice, and you can't help but wonder why Patel and Singh went to such lengths when, given a bit more time, an actual robbery might have occurred naturally, especially in a city like New York. Perhaps they could have saved themselves the trouble and waited for a genuine opportunity to present itself rather than concocting such a convoluted plan. Ultimately, the whole scam seems like it was a lot more trouble than it was worth, but really shows the lengths some are willing to go to exploit loopholes in the system. As the saying goes, truth can indeed be stranger than fiction, and this bizarre case of staged robberies for immigration perks is a testament to that. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay tuned right here for our past release to find out how this dumb jewelry thief got caught stealing because of her TikToks. Number 1. Hot Ferrari. Cody Detweiler is a popular YouTube personality with roughly 7 million subscribers who goes by Whistlin' Diesel. He burned down his brand new Ferrari F8 valued at around $400,000 when it suddenly burst into flames along with a rental minivan. Both vehicles were reduced to a pile of ash. The whole thing, which went down in Waco, Texas, was captured on video and shared on his channel. In the video, Detweiler proudly displayed his new Ferrari performing stunts in an empty cornfield surrounded by dry grass. However, the excitement quickly turned to panic as his right tire caught fire, prompting his friends in the rental van to urgently warn him of the blaze. Despite their efforts to extinguish the flames, fire rapidly spread, engulfing both vehicles within minutes. As the situation escalated, one of Detweiler's friends made a frantic call to emergency services, requesting immediate assistance to contain the growing inferno. Despite their best efforts to douse the flames, the fire proved undousable, leaving behind nothing but charred remains of the once luxurious car and van. He wasn't even sure if he actually had insurance on the car. Maybe he said that just as a joke, because taking a $400,000 loss in this way is pretty bad planning. Amidst the aftermath, speculation arose among fans with some questioning whether the entire ordeal was staged for views. However, Detweiler denied any involvement in causing the fire, pointing out the loss of personal belongings and sentimental items, such as evidence of the incident's authenticity. With a net worth of approximately $5 million, he assured his audience that replacing the destroyed Ferrari would pose little financial strain. So, thank heavens for that. We wouldn't want this guy to not be able to get another Ferrari, you know? Some things would just be too sad. The video quickly went viral, grabbing over 5 million views within days of its upload, further solidifying Detweiler's status as a YouTube sensation. Despite the supposed devastation of losing his prized sports car, Detweiler maintained a lighthearted tone throughout the ordeal, emphasizing the importance of enjoying life's adventures before unforeseen problems occur. Detweiler acknowledged the likely repercussions on his insurance premiums, jokingly remarked on the sudden spike in rates following the fiery incident. His casual attitude about the whole thing with friends had his viewers questioning the authenticity of the video. If you're asking us, well, he's in this video. That's enough said. We're definitely curious to hear what the insurance adjuster said, even if he were insured. What are some of the dumbest decisions people will make? Let's find out. Starting with number 6, Moms, the OnlyFans. Michelle Klein, a mom from Florida, got her children expelled from Liberty Christian Preparatory School because of an OnlyFans advertisement displayed on her car. Known by her alias, Piper Fawn, Klein had been promoting her adult content platform on her vehicle, drawing backlash from both the school board and fellow parents. You know, all the men with outraged wives were like, "What? What's OnlyFans? Where's this ad you're talking about?" The controversy began when Klein's sticker caught the attention of other parents at the school in Tavares, Florida. Despite being forced to drop her kids off across the street due to the uproar, matters escalated when her children were ultimately expelled over it. The school pointed to policies that Klein apparently violated. In response to the school's decision, Klein received a letter from the school board urging her to remove the decals from her car or park off-site. But instead of complying, Klein decided to enhance the size of the decal, covering the entire back of her vehicle's tailgate, and even posted a photo of the larger display on social media. The school said she was mocking them, which is pretty hard to argue she wasn't. The school's administrators argued that Klein's actions disrupted school activities and violated Florida laws prohibiting the provision of minors with access to adult content. Despite the school's warning and the potential for re-enrollment if the decals were removed, Klein defended her decision, saying that her adult content business supported her family and was legal. While some parents sympathized with Klein's situation, others expressed concerns about the impact of the explicit advertisement on their children. One parent said that the large decal was a distraction for children and had questions about the appropriateness of such content in an educational environment. Klein's situation grabbed widespread attention, highlighting the complexities surrounding freedom of expression and parental responsibility. While Klein remained firm in her stance, insisting on her right to promote her business, the school maintained its position too. And yes, it's her right to advertise how she sees fit, and her life choices aren't our business. But why send your kids to a religious prep school, shove your job in everyone's faces, then act all indignant because everyone got mad? Like, she had to know that wasn't going to fly with pretty much anyone, especially at a religious school, where there are kids with religious parents. And yes, it's her right to advertise how she sees fit, and her life choices aren't our business. But why send your kids to a religious prep school, shove your job in everyone's faces, then act all indignant because everyone got mad? Like, she had to know that wasn't going to fly with pretty much anyone, especially at a religious school, where there are kids with religious parents. Number 5, an influencer influenced. Outdoor brand influencer Sophie Swaney, renowned for her extensive following across various social media platforms, found herself in a troubling situation in Nashville. Police arrested her after she was allegedly driving under the influence, accompanied by her boyfriend, who suffered a serious injury during an altercation. Apparently, Swaney and her boyfriend were in a heated argument while driving, and the disagreement escalated. So her boyfriend, who goes by the name Johnny Justice, got even more upset and became Johnny Jumper, jumping out of the moving vehicle through the passenger window. Unfortunately, Johnny ended up sustaining a serious head injury that required treatment in the trauma unit of a local hospital. Apparently, his name only makes him sound like a superhero. Upon arrival at the scene, law enforcement officers conducted sobriety tests on Swaney, suspecting impairment due to alcohol consumption. She admitted to having a Moscow Mule and a beer earlier in the evening, which isn't much, but field sobriety tests showed she had signs of impairment, leading to her arrest. During a search of the vehicle, officers discovered a firearm, which Swaney acknowledged was in her possession. Additionally, a small baggie containing some illegal substances was found, which she admitted to using occasionally. The incident marks Swaney's second encounter with DUI-related charges following a prior conviction in 2018. Consequently, she now faces charges including DUI, possession of a firearm while under the influence, and possession of a controlled substance. Swaney was released on bail pending her appearance in court. Swaney's rise to prominence in the outdoor and lifestyle influencer scene began after she relocated to North Carolina at the age of 21. Over the years, she has collaborated with various brands, showcasing outdoor activities such as marksmanship, hunting, and fishing. However, her portrayal of this lifestyle hasn't been without controversy, as she has faced citations for hunting without a license in the past. It makes you wonder exactly how bad the fight in the car was that it caused Johnny Justice to jump out of the window of a moving vehicle. Number 4, Dior. An unnamed Australian guy found himself out $30,000 after splurging on what he thought was a collection of exclusive Dior Air Jordan 1 sneakers, only to later discover they were clever knockoffs. The man, a Melbourne real estate agent, was lured in by the promise of owning these highly sought-after sneakers, each pair representing a status symbol in the world of luxury footwear. Eager to bolster his shoe collection, the agent struck a deal with a seemingly enterprising 17-year-old seller, shelling out big money that included a jaw-dropping $10,000 for a single pair. However, his excitement soon turned to dismay when he began to notice defects in the shoes upon arrival. Suspecting foul play, he sought the opinion of sneaker experts, only to have his worst fears confirmed. The shoes were fake. Infuriated and scammed, the real estate agent took legal action against the teenage seller and his father, dragging them to the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal in hopes of reclaiming his money. However, his hopes were shattered when the tribunal ruled against him because of the seller's age. They explained that due to him being under 18, he didn't have the legal capacity to enter into contracts. Of course, the tribunal's decision left the guy furious, since it basically meant he'd never get his money back. Meanwhile, the seller's defense painted a picture of a young entrepreneur who had unwittingly stumbled into the world of sneaker reselling, only to end up dealing with legal problems. We're not sure why the realtor wasn't asking himself how a 17-year-old could get such a collection of ultra-limited edition shoes, though. Maybe he was too blinded by the allure of luxury to see the red flags waving before him? So, who's at fault here? The guy who thought this teenager somehow had access to thousands of dollars worth of shoes? Did the kid unknowingly buy knockoffs and resell them? Is this something a 17-year-old should be held accountable for? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Number 3, influencer with DUI. Amanda Caravella, once a rising star on TikTok, saw her career take a dramatic turn after a DUI arrest back in July of 2021. The influencer had initially become famous for her activism, particularly for protesting the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade in 2022. Her TikTok account quickly grabbed over 2 million likes, showcasing her efforts in various videos, including making custom signs and engaging in peaceful demonstrations. However, Amanda's budding TikTok career hit a roadblock when body cam footage of her DUI arrest surfaced on YouTube in December of 2022. The footage, which went viral on TikTok, showed a concerning scene of police officers struggling to communicate with Amanda, who appeared barely responsive behind the wheel of her car at an intersection during the night. Following the release of the footage, Amanda faced some legal consequences. She was charged and sentenced to 6 days of community service and 12 months of probation. Remarkably, the probation period concluded on December 26, 2022, just 2 weeks after the body cam video surfaced online. In the aftermath of the incident, Amanda's social media presence underwent a significant shift. She either deleted her accounts or set them to private, effectively disappearing from the online spotlight. Fortunately, no one was hurt while she was behind the wheel wasted, but she did end up losing whatever fame she was growing by making the stupid decision to drink and drive. Number 2, the influencer lifestyle. In the ever-glamorous world of social media influencing, where picture-perfect lives are shown off, it's easy to believe that everyone is living the high life. But reality often proves to be very different, as demonstrated by Lisette Calvero's eye-opening experience. Lisette was an aspiring influencer, and she found herself mixed up in a web of financial woes after attempting to mimic the extravagant lifestyle portrayed by her online counterparts. In her pursuit of fame and fortune, she spent thousands of dollars on luxurious vacations, trendy outfits, and lavish dining experiences, all while her bank account remained empty. Despite her best efforts, her investment failed to bring in the desired results, with her Instagram following barely reaching 10,000, a far cry from the millions she hoped to get. Reflecting on her spending habits, Lisette confessed to Fortune that she felt like she had to maintain an illusion of a glamorous lifestyle, even when it was financially unsustainable. She explained how influencers often create the facade of a jet-setting existence, constantly seeking validation through online displays of wealth. Lisette's story sheds light on the contrast between the perceived glamour of social media and the realities of financial instability. While influencers may project an image of opulence and success, the truth is often far less glamorous. As Lisette herself admitted, many aspiring influencers find themselves trapped in a cycle of debt as they strive to maintain appearances in a fiercely competitive industry. But amidst the struggles and setbacks, there's a glimmer of hope. Lisette's candidness about her financial challenges ultimately resonated with audiences, leading to a surge in her social media following. By sharing her journey, warts and all, she gained the authenticity and relatability that had eluded her during her quest for influencer status. Today, with over 80,000 Instagram followers and nearly 50,000 on TikTok, Lisette has found success by embracing her imperfections and being transparent about her mistakes. Yet, Lisette's story isn't unique. Emma Rose Lager, another aspiring influencer, shared similar struggles of financial hardship on her path to social media stardom. Despite boasting hundreds of thousands of followers today, Emma recounted how she once found herself broke after splurging on Coachella tickets in 2018, a stark reminder of the fleeting nature of online fame. So the next time you find yourself scrolling through your Instagram feed, remember that likely 95% of what you're seeing is fake and manipulated. Or, better yet, just stay off of it. It seems like social media is just making everyone more depressed anyway. Be sure to stay on this video to find out more about some of the dumbest things people do on social media. Number 1. Influenced escapade. Paris Ao Yang, a teenage influencer and OnlyFans star, got in trouble after a drunken escapade that led to a catastrophic car crash at one of Australia's most upscale neighborhoods. The incident saw Ao Yang behind the wheel of her $50,000 black Mercedes, driving 4 times over the legal alcohol limit. In a state of inebriation, she crashed with a parked vehicle, a red Mercedes, worth $150,000. Apparently, the crash was a result of Ao Yang's tumultuous personal life, particularly her breakup with nightclub owner Julian Tobias. Desperate to drown her sorrows, Ao Yang dove headfirst into a 9-hour drinking spree, starting at midday and continuing into the evening. By the time of the accident, her blood alcohol reading soared to 0.21 .213, way above the legal limit. During the court proceedings, it was revealed that Ao Yang's relationship with Tobias had begun when she was just 17 years old. The breakup had taken a toll on her mental state, leading her to seek solace in alcohol. Her lawyer described the situation as a perfect storm where Ao Yang spiraled out of control due to her inability to cope with the emotional fallout. The judge in this case didn't mince words as he addressed Ao Yang in court, admonishing her behavior and highlighting the grave danger she posed to herself and others on the road. He warned her of the potential for jail time, stressing the severity of her actions. Despite her affluent upbringing and substantial income from OnlyFans, Ao Yang's reckless behavior had landed her in a serious legal predicament. Ultimately, Ao Yang was convicted and sentenced to a 2-year community corrections order. Additionally, her license was suspended for 9 months with a breathalyzer device installed in her car for the following 24 months. She was also fined $1,000. The fact that people keep making the decision to drink and drive, despite it costing them severely, is weird. We all have had our lives touched directly or indirectly by a drunk driver. So why these decisions are still made is baffling. Even more so from people who have more to lose than we do. Please, please, please stop drinking and driving. It's just not worth it. What are some of the dumbest decisions people will make? Let's find out. Starting with number 6, influenced influencer. Miami police arrested self-proclaimed Cuban Kim Kardashian, Catherine Ferrero, for driving under the influence after she blew past a stop sign. Ferrero's breathalyzer test revealed her blood alcohol level was over twice the legal limit. Before the arrest, the influencer, who had 5.3 million Instagram followers, partied at the 11 nightclub. She left the venue and got behind the wheel, but her dangerous driving caught law enforcement's attention. A police car flashed its lights and tried to pull her over, but she attempted to flee. When she eventually pulled over, she was booked into the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center in Miami-Dade County. The influencer, who is known for sharing revealing pictures of her allegedly natural curves, told the Miami Herald that she didn't understand the interest in her arrest. Ferrero said that her followers liked her because of her content and implied that there was no reason for the incident to make the news. The Kardashian wannabe went for the title of World's Best Booty in 2015 while building up her following on her racy Instagram account. At the time, she bragged about her body being 100% natural. With her public persona, it's easy to tell why she didn't want the bad press. But in a world where an Uber is just a click away, there's no reason to ever drive drunk. Please, don't drink and drive. Number 5, photo shooting cop. The Miami Beach Police Department suspended police officer William Beaker after he appeared in an inappropriate video featuring women in lingerie. The video went viral on Instagram and featured Beaker escorting 3 handcuffed women in their underoos to the front doors of the department's headquarters. It was a mock arrest staged by women working in the adult entertainment industry. They approached Beaker and asked him if he would star in their skit. He happily obliged. The women called Beaker Officer Bill and thanked him for letting them go. Then he drove away in an off-road police vehicle. When it was over, the women, dressed in their skivvies, thanked him for participating. The videos received millions of views on Instagram, prompting an investigation at Beaker's workplace. Miami Beach City Manager Jimmy L. Morales called the videos offensive and expressed his disgust that a representative of the Miami Beach Police Department would conduct himself in such a manner. Morales claimed that Beaker's actions made a mockery of his department, which worked hard every day to protect the community from heinous acts, such as the content featured in the video. Beaker had worked for the force for 11 years when he was placed on administrative duty. A day later, he was suspended. Police Chief Richard Clements suspended the officer while the department's internal affairs unit investigated how the officer got involved in the skit. The video brought unwanted attention to the Miami Beach Police Department, which has spent a decade trying to clean up its image after facing multiple controversies. Miami being known as a notorious entry point for smugglers, as well as a surprisingly higher crime rate. It's higher than both New York and LA, employee, which is surprising. Back in June of 2011, police officer Derek Coolin and a partner mingled with a group of women celebrating an upcoming wedding. He offered the bride-to-be a ride in his ATV and drove her onto the beach. A few blocks away, Coolin's ATV struck a couple who had just left the water. Both of them sustained serious injuries which required multiple surgeries. Even worse, Coolin's blood alcohol level was above the legal limit. He was charged with driving under the influence, reckless driving, and causing bodily harm. 5 weeks before the scandal, officers from multiple departments fired over 100 rounds into a slow-moving vehicle they deemed to be a threat. The driver inside the vehicle lost his life. Since the department was desperate to avoid more controversy, it's clear why Beaker was placed on leave. One of the women in the skit, Playboy model Francia James, released a statement defending the disgraced officer. She said it was harmless and he was nice and respectful. James also stated that she didn't think he did anything wrong by agreeing to film with them. What do you think? Did the cop do anything wrong? Was his decision to participate in the skit dumb? Tell us what you think. Number 4, just for YouTube views. YouTube prankster Gerard Nadella was filmed threatening to blow up Britain's Newcastle airport. He entered the terminal building, walked past the check-in desks, and announced that he was armed with an explosive device. He then started trying to imitate words in Arabic. It was nothing but a dumb prank. Nadella and Andre Antonio, who filmed the whole thing, wanted to upload the prank to YouTube to get views. But members of the public and airport staff didn't act alarmed and really didn't give the pair any kind of reaction they were hoping for. Instead, security staff and police officers swarmed and arrested Nadella and Antonio. The investigating officer, Detective Inspector Steve Byrne, commented that carrying out a prank of that nature was completely unacceptable and stupid, as it came with a prison sentence of up to 7 years. The pair pleaded guilty to communicating false information, which sounds like a really weird way to say that, right? During his trial, prosecutor Rachel Glover even pointed out that the way Nadella used the Arabic language as part of his announcement that he had a bomb encouraged hostility to Arabic speakers in public. Judge Rippin stated that it was idiotic to carry out a bomb threat with the hope that it would frighten and distress the people around them, which is true. It's even dumber to think that you could then upload the footage on YouTube, which would basically guarantee you would be sent to jail. Antonio's defense claimed that at one point, Antonio told Nadella not to go through with the prank because Antonio's not a homie. What a rat. Antonio and Nadella both were found guilty. Nadella was sentenced to 9 months in prison, suspended for 2 years, and 200 hours of community service. Antonio received 5 months in jail, also suspended for 2 years, and 150 hours of community service. And really, they're lucky that's all that happened. Why on earth, in the current age, would you make any kind of threat about airplanes, especially when there's guys like these around ready to take action? Number 3, the poor dog. Surveillance video showed Instagram model Kivana Wilson kicking her dog in an elevator. Wilson's Shih Tzu, Chastity, suffered multiple bruises on her stomach. Miami-Dade Animal Services removed Chastity from Wilson's care and put it up for adoption. Wilson claimed she was mad that her dog peed in the elevator and never meant to seriously harm her pet. Wilson was charged following the incident. She addressed the case on her Instagram and apologized to anyone affected by her bad choices. The Instagram personality said that her actions were disgraceful and that her behavior that day had caused her a lot of hurt. She said she wished she'd never let her anger dictate how she treated her defenseless small dog. Wilson said she took anger management classes after the ordeal to find out the root of why she overreacted in such an intense manner. Part of her decision, she claims, came from the fact that she lost her best friend and hoped her situation would be a lesson for herself and anyone else struggling with anger issues. Wilson vowed that she would help mistreated animals and keep her followers updated on her progress. She also posted a video of Chastity saying she would always love her. She agreed to a plea deal, which included 4 years of probation, paying a $600 fine, and writing a letter to the court addressing her behavior. Yeah, don't kick any animals. And don't kick any animals on video. Number 2, the tree thrower. Kamila Grabska sued an insurance agency over seemingly debilitating injuries she sustained in a car accident. Less than a year later, cameras caught her participating in a Christmas tree throwing competition. Grabska sued RSA Insurance after a 2017 crash that she claimed caused her life-changing injuries. She said that she suffered from severe neck and back pain that prevented her from holding down a job or even carrying her young children. The 36-year-old quit her job shortly after and received receive disability payments. She argued that she lost $500,000 in past and future income as a result of the accident. But in January of 2018, less than a year after her accident, Grabska competed in a Christmas tree throwing event where she launched a tree into the air and showed no signs of pain. Not only did Grabska participate in the competition, but she posed with a plaque after throwing the 5-foot spruce tree as far as she could. Because it's not enough that she's throwing trees. She needs to get photographic evidence of her throwing trees. As a result of the photos, Grabska lost her $800,000 injury lawsuit. The judge said that Grabska appeared to have exaggerated her injuries and dismissed her claim. Grabska denied faking her injuries in court and said she was just trying to live a normal life. And by trying to live a normal life, she meant live a normal life by throwing trees, like you do. If you're claiming you can't do something, then you get pictures taken of you doing that thing, you deserve what you get. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay tuned right here to find out how she tried to play like she was a business guru. Number 1. Above the law. Body cam videos caught Oklahoma State Representative Dean Davis in handcuffs, screaming at police that they couldn't arrest him because he was a politician. Davis might have thought he was above the law, but officers disagreed. The confrontation occurred late on a Thursday night when the Republican politician and his friends refused to leave a bar that was trying to close. Davis's group kept drinking on the outdoor patio, prompting the cops to arrive on the scene. Police told the group to leave the closed business, but they refused and became confrontational. Officers arrested the clearly intoxicated Davis, who demanded they call their supervisors and threatened that there would be consequences for their actions. He claimed he couldn't be arrested during the session of legislature and congratulated the cops on targeting the wrong person. However, the police felt that they actually had the right person. Davis refused to back down, even when he realized that law enforcement didn't care about his title. So, the determined politician pulled out his wallet to prove his legislative credentials and warned the officers that they had made a massive mistake. He demanded to know how the officers could arrest him without forcing him to take a breathalyzer test, to which the arresting officer explained that Davis was slurring his words and that he stank of alcohol, Jimmy Fallon style, making it clear he was heavily intoxicated. Despite the fact that Davis is clearly above the law, the cop had a different opinion, and Davis was soon in the back of a police car on his way to jail. Although Davis insisted that the Oklahoma City Fraternal Order of Police would have his back, the group surprisingly sided with the officers instead and stated publicly that the state representative's arrest was justified. This was Davis's second time being booked, as he was previously accused of driving while impaired, speeding, and obstructing a police officer. And all the restaurant workers rejoiced, right? Seriously, as a little side PSA for those who don't know, when a restaurant is closing in 15 minutes, that means it's closed. Trust us, you don't want anything from the kitchen that late. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what you'd rather have: Popeyes for life or KFC for life.